Alright, today I've decided to paint some brake calipers that I've got on my vehicle. So the brake calipers I have are Brembo style brake calipers, but what I'm doing here today you could do with any brake caliper. Basically what I've done is I like to do things a little quicker, right or wrong. I just use my my drill, put a wire brush on the end of it, wire brush the heck out of it. I just basically, it looked a lot like this one. You can see the front of it looks kind of rough. The back looks like brand new, but the color I have is completely different, and I'm going to paint both the front and the back. So what I did is I just knocked off all of the shiny spots. Now I didn't worry about the shiny spots inside here because that doesn't really matter. I'm not going to paint that. I'm going to tape that off. I'm going to tape this one off. I'm going to end up putting tape on the end of this, tape on the end of this. Now I did disconnect this from my brake line, so I'm going to have to bleed my brakes later. But I put a little something in here, a little cloth, to make sure that nothing gets in it and that no more oil comes out. So I basically wire brushed the whole thing. Then I used 120 grit sandpaper, just because that's what I had laying around. Now you just really want something that's pretty fine. A couple of spots I did hit it with looks like 50 grit sandpaper, and then of course when you're done though, you just go over it with this. Make sure that there's any rough spots from the wire brush or from the 50 grit that you just sand it down. It's really not going to be that big of a deal, and I say it's not going to be that big of a deal. I know I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube where people go down all the way to the bare metal, the whole thing, and then they repaint it, and sure, that would be great. But I'm not going to put this in a display case, and I'm not going to have it sitting anywhere that everybody can see every angle. The only thing that people are going to see is this. Nobody's going to care. In fact, I did these the other day, and you can see they look fine. And the only thing you can see is the front. You can't see the back. Nobody's ever going to see the back unless they watch me do the brakes, and for some reason when I do the brakes I take off the caliper. So in my opinion, and that's just my opinion, follow my results if you like, but I think you could wire brush it, use some really fine grit sandpaper you have laying around, and then after you get it to this stage, paint it. So now I'm going to spend another 15-20 minutes on this one, and then I'm going to prep it to paint by taping off everything, and I'm going to get going. Now one thing I did do that I didn't mention is I cleaned it with soap and water. You can say I used the kitchen brush. I cleaned it with soap and water before that because you want to get all the dirt off that you can. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same with that one, and then I'm going to come back when we're ready to paint. Alright, so the final step before painting is to make sure that you wipe them down with some isopropylene alcohol, and also that you make sure you tape up all the important areas that you don't want to have taped or painted. So you can see I definitely don't want the inside of this brake caliper to be painted, so I've taped them off, and I've also taped off the outputs there for the oil. So I haven't wiped it down yet. I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to start painting. So the paint that I purchased for this is, I'm going to paint them red again. So I painted red caliper paint, and you can see I got that actually from the local automotive store, and I also got the gloss clear paint. Now both of these you could probably see on the container there advertised that they withstand temperatures of up to 500 degrees. You need to make sure that the paint and the clear gloss that you use is going to at least be able to withstand 500 degrees, because of course these are brakes and they are going to get really hot. Make sure to shake up your can for at least a minute before you decide to start doing the painting. I find it's best to start on the back of the brake caliper, and you want to do even strokes. And I start on the back because the back is not really what you're going to see. You're going to see the front more than anything. So I want to make sure that when I finally get to the front, that's the last thing I do. And in case I had some mistakes, I did that early on. Okay, so the first coat is done. I'm going to let that dry for about 10 minutes and I'm going to come back. If you read on the back of the paint container, it says don't let it dry longer than an hour between coats, otherwise you'll have to wait 20, or I think it says 7 days. So just make sure that you wait about 10 minutes, give your next coat. Okay, so I already did a second coat on the other side. I just flipped them over to the front. I need to get the front going right now. I don't know how easy you can see that. This is semi in the shade. I decided to get off the cardboard and use something a little slicker, mainly because I noticed when I did the front calipers, I switched it over on the cardboard and my caliper, freshly painted, stuck to the cardboard and I had to clean that up. So probably best if you could sit them up somehow. I couldn't find something to sit them up, so I'm just going to use this slick piece of whatever. Might be better to take like an old piece of vinyl or something like that. So anyway, I'm going to paint the front now. I'm almost out of spray paint. I think I'm gonna have to buy another can. Okay, time for the second coat. I ran out of paint, so I actually had to go back to the store and get some. Alright, so I flipped them over and I'm gonna do the bottom now. Okay, now I'm going to do a final coat on the front, and then I'm going to go get my sticker. Okay, so I bought this sheet off of eBay. I think it was $5. I wasn't exactly sure the size of the sticker, so I just got where they had 4 of each size. Those little ones are the ones I'm using. So I'm going to cut those off of here, peel them off, and peel them on the front. And then after I peel them on the front, I'm going to use the clear coat and finish it off. There. Okay, now it's time for the clear coat. Here we go. Don't forget to rotate your brake caliper to get all sides with the clear coat. And I would make sure that you got at least 3 coats of clear coat. You want to make sure that if it gets nicked, it's not going to easily damage the paint. Clear coat is going to protect your paint. So make sure you flip it over, get the front, the back, 3 coats with clear coat. Most likely I'm not going to put them on the car until the following day because I'm going to really let them dry pretty good before I decide to put them on there. Alright, so there's the final result. Looks great, doesn't it? I hope yours turns out just as good as mine did. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you. If it did, please give us a thumbs up. Maybe even subscribe. Check out our other videos. Thanks.